No, they weren't moving because they're protesting.
For what?
A rise in student tuition there.
Just let it keep going.
Oh. All right, what was your initial reaction?
I mean, it's good to stand up for something, but I don't know if a little bit of tuition money is worth getting sprayed over just because, like, first of all, I don't even know why the police wanted them to move. That's just kind of weird in the first place.
Would you see this as a police brutality case?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you think because of the way the video was portrayed that the students should receive some form of compensation from like the college or state?
Yeah, I do. Because honestly, you're allowed to protest given our First Amendment, and they were practicing that right. And the police had no reason to even move them in the first place. I think they were just sitting in. I don't even think it was a road. It looks like a sidewalk. Just hop over.
Do you think because of what the police officer did, they should be fired and face charges?
I think fired. Well, it depends because I think there should be someone held accountable. But yeah, I do. All right, I changed my answer. Yes.
All right, immediate reaction. What did you think of that video, the shortened version?
I didn't really think it was right that they had, I mean, their rights were they could sit there if they wanted to protest, but the police were like physically moving them out of the way. So I just thought it was ridiculous how they were reacting to it and like spraying down the students, but I don't know what they were upset about.
Did you think, so you're saying that the use of pepper spray was too much on the students? It was abuse, police brutality in a way.
It wasn't as brutal as could have been done, but I don't know the context of what happened.
Okay, exactly. So if you only saw this video, you thought it would have been like, you would have been shocked if you like saw this on the news or something.
Well, of all the uses that they could have done, I feel like pepper spray was probably the most moderate they could have used. So they weren't physically beating students, but at the same time, they're going to have a bad reaction to the pepper spray, so it's going to hurt them.
You think some of these should receive some form of payment for their abuse?
If they weren't given warning first, yes.
Okay. Do you think the police officer who pepper sprayed should be terminated from their job?
No, if he's following out what he's supposed to be doing.
Okay. We'll go into the second video right now.
Okay.
Reaction from that video?
My reaction is just wow. That's pretty crazy.
Would you say there was some police brutality involved?
Definitely. They could have definitely responded better.
Do you think these students that were pepper sprayed receive some form of compensation?
I mean, probably not, because I'm pretty sure they were probably asked to move, and pretty much someone gave the order to the cops to do it. So if not, it would have turned out to be a riot. So they probably had something to do with it.
Do you think the police officer who pepper sprayed the students should be fired and even given some charges?
No.
Oh, okay. Now we'll move on to the second video. Any additional reaction now that you've seen a fuller length video?
No.
No. So you still let's see. Do the police have a more cause for their reason for being out there and doing what they did?
Yeah. Everyone has a job to do.
So do you continue to believe that the police officer shouldn't have been fired from his job?
No.
Well, he was fired from his job not too long after this took fire. And You were right by saying that he did receive order, and that was from the chancellor at UC Davis. Do you think that he should have gotten $38,000 in compensation for being fired?
He got that much money?
Yeah,
No.
that's most likely part of his like paycheck for like a year or so. I think that's what.
No.
Do you also think that the students? Do you think the students' reactions from "Don't shoot" or "Don't shoot your children" was a little much?
No, they had a peaceful protest, so as long as they didn't do any harm, that was fine.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Do you have a completely different opinion now than the first video?
I would say I definitely have a lot more information.
Okay, that's kind of what I want to hear. Yeah, but you can tell that it was, with the more information you had a lot more to go on than the first video. Okay.
Yeah, you didn't see the cult mentality behind the students without all the chanting.
Do you think the police officers now have more reason to use pepper spray?
Absolutely. They had a verbal contract with all the students. They warned them about it ahead of time, and all of the students agreed to it.
Do you think the students surrounding the police officers was a right thing to do?
They were actually threatening them, and when the students said that we will continue with our peaceful, what was it?
Protest.
Yeah, with our peaceful protests, they were admitting they were no longer peacefully protesting at that point in time. And they were actually threatening the officers and telling them that they need to leave and they won't follow them. That's against the law.
The main police officer that you saw actually pepper spraying the students, he was actually fired because of this. What are your opinions on that?
I think it's really sad today how police officers are scared for their job because we continuously have these protests and just people are suing the police officers and trying to ruin their lives just because they're doing their job and trying to keep us safe. They can't keep us safe if they don't feel safe and secure in their own jobs.
Well, they were, once more, the police officers were sued, but thankfully they didn't really get much out of them. In fact, the police officer that was terminated got more from being terminated improperly from this because he was following the chancellor of UC Davis's orders to clear out the quad.
Mm-hmm.
And to top off that, this also led to her resigning shortly after.
Oh my goodness. See, that's what I have a problem with, is the people who are doing their jobs right are the ones that are getting fired and quitting.
All right, well, thank you for this interview.
Thank you.
Okay, so any additional reaction from the second video?
Nothing that changed from the first video.
All right, do you think that the police have more of a fight on their side as to the police brutality dispute?
So, are you asking me, do I think that the police have a moral standing on their...
What is said to as if this is considered police brutality or not police brutality?
Oh yeah, of course. They're police and they're doing whatever people are telling them, like, on their earpiece. I mean, even if they don't believe it, they're probably being told to by someone that is above them.
They were told by the chancellor of the university.
Exactly. So, again, I don't think that the police should have been involved. Protesting is legal in the United States of America, even if it is private property. I still think that it should be legal. I mean, and I believe that it is legal.
The police officer... Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
If
off.
I'm wrong, but the right to protest is something that our ancestors long past said would be in the Constitution. And I believe that even if they're on private property, they're not hurting. They're fighting for something that they believe in, even if it's something that they shouldn't be fighting over. They have the right to do it.
So I could just protest on your lawn about
I mean, you can
whatever.
go to your own desires, but when you feel like stopping, I mean, I think that was really blown out of proportion from what I can see. I feel like if the police weren't there, eventually the kids would either just quit trying or drop out of school because.
I mean, they're going to pay it. I mean, it was a tuition increase, was what was being protested on. They most likely paid the tuition increase if there was one. Chancellor, she stepped down because of the first video was so violent and so blown out because of the lack of information that was presented. Do you think this was right of her to step down?
Yeah, she shouldn't order her police friends to pepper spray kids that are just sitting on the sidewalk. She doesn't deserve to be a chancellor.
The officer that was seen pepper spraying the students was fired. Do you think that was right?
I do, because I think that there's a test on learned about in psychology where if you're told by someone above you that something is correct, even though you know that it's morally wrong, you will obey that order. But he was like the leader of the most of the cops, from what I could tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And he had the chance to side with someone else, even though I'm sure that there was someone up above him. But he controlled a lot of people in that situation. And if he had changed his thoughts and his minds to what was morally correct, at least to what I think is morally correct, if he thought what I think is morally correct is the same. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But if me and him agreed on the morality of this situation, then he wouldn't have been fired, and the situation wouldn't have been blown out of proportion, and I'm sure this kid still would have paid tuition.
Doing his job the way he thought it should have been done did get him $38,000 for compensation due to the evidence provided because the judge found that he was improperly terminated from his position. Because
$30,000 is
38,000.
38.
That's I'm guessing most likely part of his salary, if
I
not
would assume so too.
during a year.
I mean, was he like rehired?
Not in that area, no.
Okay, well, I mean, 38,000 is good for like a year if you stretch it
most
out.
likely.
Like, that's not.
It's not a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a great chunk of change. It's something, but it's not. Again,
So did you see? Do you think the students acted violent or a little irrational while they were protesting?
they didn't act violent. They acted belligerent, and I can't say that I would have done the same thing if I was in their shoes. I just think this whole situation was kind of like stupid. I don't want to get pepper sprayed for tuition money. I also don't want to sit out on the lawn for hours about tuition money. Not in my shoes, at least maybe someone else, but I don't think I would have participated in the protest. I would have been there videotaping it. So, how many hits does this have online?
Probably the second one doesn't have as much. The first one had way more because people don't tend to watch a 50-minute video.
You can make some good money off it too.
Yeah, you can. All right, thank you very much.